All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Eastern Echo YouTube channel. I just came from the EMU men's basketball game versus Toledo. And I wanted to tape this while the thoughts were still fresh in my mind because there was a lot to unpack from this, even though it was just one game. I'm not really counting the game against Michigan State because it was just one game. So, and I mean, they were down 6 players. They didn't even, so let's get into this. So I want to talk about three major things. I want to talk about the game as a whole, the game against Toledo as a whole, 91-74, Toledo won. I want to talk about the standout players, and then I want to talk about the big picture, what it means for the team in total, what I'm going to be looking for, things like that. So first of all, game summary. Toledo's a really good shooting team. They were a team coming in that I knew that they have one of the better offenses in the MAC, and it's a tough task to hold them down. So, I knew that going in, and they came into play. They shot the ball consistently. They shot really well. They matched Eastern Michigan rebounding, which was big for them because they're able to get more shots up. The whole game was basically a bloodbath, but in the middle part of the second half, Eastern brought within 2 off of some great shooting from Ty Gross and Bryce McBride. McBride hit a 3 and unfortunately pulled his calf, so he had to come out, and then EMU just lost all juice and Toledo took the lead again, and that was that. All right, so let's get into some players. The first one I want to talk about Ty Gross. Ty Gross really, in this game, cemented himself as the best player on this team and an all-MAC player, in my opinion. He played 38 minutes. He bounced around between forward and center. Murphy mentioned previously that he was toying with the idea of having Gross in at the 5 spot. And Gross came in, he played really well in their zone, and it was great to watch. He was able to score from both playing the 5, he was able to post up, he was able to get in the paint, he was able to shoot from outside, he was able to do it all. He had great numbers too. 8 of 12 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3 out of 4 free throws. I mean, he played really well. He had the most minutes on the entire team. He really put him on his back, so that was great to see. And something that I thought was really interesting was that he was the reason they got their run going in the second half, because what started to happen was Toledo would start double teaming him, and then other players got open and then started making their shot. There was more off-ball movement in that second half. There was just more stuff going on because Gross, not only was he able to score, but he was able to distribute the ball when needed, and the entire team kind of came up. And unfortunately, they didn't win, but that's life. So that was great to watch. I think that he's going to be a consistent contributor to this team. Now, the next player I want to talk about was Yeeks Montero, and I was really hopeful for him coming in the season. I still am, but tonight was just not his night. And he confirmed what I talked about before, which was he cannot shoot the ball well at all. He had on this team the highest user percentage of the entire team, and so I want to read off the definition. Usage percentage, the percentage of team plays used by a player. So that's field goals plus free throws. So field goals would be 3s and buckets plus free throws plus turnovers per possession. So he had the ball in his hands basically all the time. He almost 30% usage percentage. That's incredible. That's like 6 points better than the next player. He used the ball a lot. Let me read you his numbers. 4 of 14 from the field. He missed 10 shots. And 2 of 9 from 3. He shot 20% from the field and 22% from 3. And over 2 on field goals. That is so bad. Like, that's really, really bad. And I mean, at least they got 10 points out of him, but he needs to play better. He really does, because he is the leader at the point guard position. He needs to get the team going. He doesn't need to be the one hurting them. He needs to be the catalyst that sparks people like Ty Gross or Chris James or like Bryce McBride. He needs to be the guy to feed those and get them going. And there was a quote from Coach Murphy that I wanted to talk about, or I want to bring up. He was talking about Montero. He said, his strength is getting to the basket. He can make an open three. That's basically saying, yeah, no, his shooting is más o menos, as the Spanish say. And then he continued, I thought he depended on his three-point shot too much, especially when he had opportunities to go to the basket. He's basically saying, yeah, no, Montero definitely should have driven the ball or passed, but instead he just hucked up bad looks. Yeah, it was just like every single time he just come down the floor, it's like he had just a little bit of room and he's like, I'm going to shoot it. It's like, you like the confidence, but I'm not sure if that's going to win the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has a skill set. You need to play within your skill set. Next player I want to talk about is a positive, Bryce McBride. So Bryce McBride is a transfer. I believe he's a junior. But he came in the game and he played really well. 4 of 10 from the field. That's good. But 2 of 4 from 3. Is that shooting? Is that shooting I see? He came in and he had some clutch buckets going down the stretch of the game. And like I said, unfortunately, he had that he pulled his muscle. I believe it was in his thigh, in his upper thigh. He pulled a muscle and that brought him out of the game. That lost them their juice. But when he was in, he was playing. So if he can be a consistent contributor and someone who can really help glue this team together, that's going to be amazing because this team really needs shooting. So that was great to see. Last, but definitely not least, Derek Ballard Jr. I want to talk about him real quick. So James Love III got the start at the 5 position at the center. But during the second half, Coach Murphy took him and Alex Okongo out, and he put Ballard in at the 5. And I'm really happy to see Ballard do well. He played really well, and he didn't have like flashy numbers, offensive numbers, I think, but he played really good defense, and he played the position he was supposed to, which is good for him because he came off the bench last year as a forward, and like he was kind of there some games, but like, so to see him come in and like really make a difference, that was great to see. I'm glad that they have like flexibility at that position, especially against a team that was as prolific as Toledo, because not only could Toledo shoot the ball well, but they were really good at attacking EMU zone. They were really good at doing that. So I'm glad to see that he was able to help them defensively. So let's step back and look at the big picture. I'm not too concerned over this game. I'm still hopeful for the season in general, because this is something that Murphy said during the press conference, is that for the past 2.5 weeks, they had only been practicing with 7 players. The other players were out due to, COVID contact tracing. So I'm not going to be like all bent out of shape, like, oh, Montero sucks. Like, no, he gets a chance to prove himself. He may have had one bad night. If this is a consistent pattern, then I'll dismiss him. But he still needs to prove himself. There's still a window of opportunity open for him. And so we'll see what happens with that. Hold this game with a grain of salt. The next thing, shooting will make this team better. And it's not just like Montero or Drew Louder, I'll talk about him in a second, getting better at shooting. It's just like everyone coming together and shooting better, because Thomas Benelli, he didn't dress for this game. He was out, undisclosed. I'm assuming instant injury. I don't know what it was, but he didn't dress for the game. Getting him back would be amazing. I mean, last year he was as a shooter, but I have faith that he'll take the next step and be a strong contributor. Not only that, but he's like one of those tall big forwards who can hit the three. So he's somebody that they want on defense as well. He's a good body for that defense. So if they can get him back, and if McBride can be a consistent 3-point shooter, that would be enormous for this team, especially with Ty Gross, being the player that he is. He had 21 points tonight. He barely even tried. But like if Montero can just be average, please, and this team will be a really good team, and they'll be in contention for the MAC. So I talked about Montero and his usage percentage, but something else caught my eye was Drew Louder. So Drew Louder, he's a transfer in, I think he's a transfer. 3 of 12 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3. That's absolutely abysmal. And he had 5 rebounds, but he had 21% usage percentage. He also touched the ball a lot, and he just threw up a bunch of shots. Like, the problem with this team tonight was that they just see an open look and be like, well, doesn't look like we have any offense going on, so I'm just gonna shoot this 3. In which it was like the best offense they had was pass the ball to Ty Gross. Let's be honest, and it was working out well for them. So seeing all these wasted shots, like if they were able to shoot just average shooting, like let's say Drew Louder shoots 5 of 12 and he shoots just 3 of 10 from 3, like that's an entirely different ball game. Same for Montero. Like the guards on this team need to be more efficient, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The strength of this team is in their guards, and I said that. What I've realized is that they are the team's strength defensively, because they're really good at hounding the top of the key on defense. But they need to be the strength of this team on offense as well. They need to pass the ball around. They need to find open guys, and they need to make shots themselves. And it can't just be this 4 for 14 garbage, 20% field goal percentage. We can't have any of that. We have to have average numbers at least, and then this team will be a really good one. So I am hopeful that they'll get turned around, because they haven't been able to practice together that much, and it's just weird in general. So this is a team I do think this team will get better as time goes on. I think just about all teams will get better as time goes on. They'll play better and better basketball, but that's what you guys should watch. I am hopeful of this team. I do think they're good. They're not as good as they don't have as bright of a future as the women's team, but they're definitely someone, they're a good team, or they're good. They have the potential to be a really good team. So, thank you guys for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at Luke Grebben. That's like LUKEGREMBAN. Check out the podcast I have with my co-host Caleb Burlingame. We talk about EMU athletics. So if you want other opinions as well, because what I'm doing here is I'm breaking more news and stories, but if you want more something more general, then check that out. It's called The Factory Report. You can find it on Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you'd like to hear. Thanks for watching. All right, so let's talk about the Eastern Michigan women's basketball team. I just watched their game. I'm taping this on Sunday, actually. And there wasn't much to say from the actual game, because SEMU, that's Southeastern Missouri or something like that. That team they were not that good. They only scored, I think, 31 points in the first half, or it may have been through 3 quarters. They were just not good. And they put up a ton of shots. They couldn't make anything. They only had one player who was halfway decent. But I liked EMU's offensive production. They came in this game and they shot really well. In the first couple of minutes they struggled, but in general they shot really well. Right? They shot around 40% from 3, 37% from the field. That's pretty good. I'll take shooting numbers like that. And then the player of the game was Kylie O'Hara. Kylie O'Hara is a transfer from, Florida International University. She played her sophomore years there. Came into Eastern Michigan as a junior right now. This is her first game in. She's a 6-foot-tall forward from Ajax, Ontario. 12 points, 4 of 6 from 3. That's really impressive. If you have someone who could just come off the bench and give you production from 3 for this team, that's so dangerous. On top of Sonara Scanes, on top of Ariana Combs, on top of their great players, you've got freaking Kylie O'Hara, who's able to come and just drop buckets. That was great to see. I loved watching that. I want to see that again. I want to see an offensive performance like this. I want to see it again. And Combs had a good game, 23 points, 5 of 10 from 3. She was really lighting it up there. She carried the lion's share of the offensive possessions again today, and she was pretty good. But something that I noticed, which I think would help her and the team a lot, is that there's very little off-ball movement for her whenever she drives the lane. So she drives the lane, teams always collapse on her because they know it's Ariana Combs. So the other players on the floor, whether it's Anna Carrico, whether it's Sanaris Gaines, whether it's Pineda, whoever else is out there, they need to get themselves open, either driving with her or just find a way to give her an outlet so that she isn't swamped. Because, Combs is a really good driver, but if teams expect that, they can kind of limit her in that regard. She's still a really good shooter, but there is a game plan to her. If the team can figure out a way to give her outlets, to take the pressure off her, whether it's Sanaris Gaines stepping up or other players just finding creative ways to get open, that would help this team a lot, both in consistency and taking pressure off of Combs to score like 20 points every single game. So moving on, Sanaris Gaines, 15 points, 7 of 16 from the field. Good stuff. I liked what I saw from her. Great post moves, freaking dominated. The last player I want to talk about, and this is not a positive, unfortunately, is Natalia Pineda. I was watching her last game, and I watched her this game, and I can't lie, I don't know what she does on this team. And I think she holds them back. So she really stuck out to me today because she never actually went for the ball. There was around 2 instances I can remember specifically where there was a ball, it was rebound, it was tipped. She didn't even go for it. She was just like hurrying on to the next play. She wasn't locked. She didn't seem locked in and focused on getting the ball. She had good rebound numbers, but I know what I saw. And what I saw is that she is afraid of the ball. She doesn't drive the lane. She barely even shoots it. She doesn't really do anything offensively. She doesn't bring the ball up. She's just there. And today she was 0 of 4. That's really bad. And especially after the UIC game still has a bad taste in my mouth with that poor shooting. And she was part of it, but she wasn't the entire problem. I'm going to see what happens with her. The jury isn't exactly out on her yet, because I don't want to dismiss a player. She may have better defense than I'm giving her credit for, something like that. I want to be objective about this, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing from her. She's not contributing offensively. She's not helping out Combs or O'Hara or even running the offense like Anna Carrico. Like, Anna Carrico doesn't have the flashiest numbers, but you can tell she runs the offense. She's there. She wants to play. She's dialed in every single possession. Pineda is not. She's just there, and she's a bad passer too. Like, there's so many passes where I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Like, come on. So in conclusion, like, this is a game that was good. They should have crushed this team, so they did what they were supposed to do. I'm happy to see that. I want to see it again. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I believe their next game is this Friday. They're playing Bowling Green, if I remember correctly. So we'll see what happens with that. It'll be a MAC game. Oh yeah, real quick. I know last time I said, if you should watch any team, watch the women's game. I'm going to pump the brakes on that real quick. Watch this team anytime they play in the MAC, because this game was absolutely atrocious to watch. This game sucked to watch, and like the commentator had a fuzzy mic, and it really sucked to watch through. But anytime this team's playing within the MAC, when they're playing against competition, I'm going to be dialed in and watching this team because they're really exciting to play, and I can't wait to see what they do. I still stand by that they have the best chance of all these teams to win a championship this year. That's men included. We'll see what happens, though. All right, let's talk about football. I was so happy with what I saw Saturday. I was in my room. I was watching the game, and as the game went on, my smile got bigger and bigger because Eastern Michigan football is just as good as I thought it could be, which makes me very happy. So let's get into the game real quick. It was a really fast-paced scoring affair. And Eastern they won the time of possession and they came out on top because they were able to really control the ball. It was really back and forth, but two really key points is that Western Michigan turned the ball over 3 times and Eastern did 0 times. Western also had 13 penalties for almost 100 yards. That's a killer. Eastern only had 5 for 40 yards. So good on them for going into Waldo Stadium and really taking it to the Broncos. That's the second year in a row. Last year was Hutchinson's actually first career start. Mike Glass went down. He got injured, and Hutchinson did it again. They came out and they crushed him. But let's talk about players. And the player of the day, and actually the best player on the field, was Darius Boone Jr. He had his triumphant return on Saturday. Came back and he played like he wanted to win. 25 carries, 148 yards. That's 5.9 yards per carry and a touchdown. He played amazing, and he was able to really give Eastern Michigan a wrinkle in their offense that they hadn't really had. So, and another dimension, because they didn't have to just rely on Hutchinson, and they could move the ball consistently. I mean, they could already move the ball really well through the air, but through the ground also. You have a running back who averages 5.9 yards per carry. That's really good. And it wasn't just him. Eastern Michigan as a team averaged 4.7 yards per carry. Samson Evans had a good day. 7 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. But the day really belonged to Darius Boone. He was the reason, I think, that they won that game, really. Let's talk about Preston Hutchinson. He had, in my opinion, the best game of the season. Not because he had his best numbers. He still had almost 300 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. But he had no turnovers. And if you remember last video, I was talking about how Hutchinson needs to take that next step to becoming an elite quarterback in the MAC by making better decisions. And he really showed himself that he can take that step. And I expect more of that from him, both in the Eastern Michigan's last game against Southern Illinois, and then next year, I expect for them to be a contender due to this. So, I mean, Hutchinson was just able to carve up the secondary with the help of their receivers. Hassan Badoon, 7 catches, 96 yards, no touchdowns. Tanner Canoe, 2 receptions for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was money. And then Keon Williams, 4 receptions, 76 yards, and 1 touchdown. Keon Williams really played an impactful role because he was able to have key catches to keep drives alive. So, I mean, I believe it was late in the third quarter. He had 2 toe tap catches to keep a drive alive that resulted in an Eagle score. That really put them in the driver's seat. And then Tanner Canoe had a great catch going in the second half. It was 3rd and 3. Yeah, I believe it was 3rd and 3 on the Western Michigan 40, around a minute left, and Western Michigan blitzed, and he just went right where the middle linebacker was. The linebacker blitzed, so he wasn't there, and just caught a slant pass and ran it in for a touchdown, 40 yards. It was great, and I saw that, I was like, this team is something else. I still feel like they could use the services of a deep threat, but they played really well as a unit. I loved what I saw. So to step back and look at them overall as a bigger picture, their best defense is their offense, quite frankly, because giving their defense the time of possession, giving them a break, taking the pressure off of them, allowed them to help force turnovers, do what they do best, shut down all the weapons that Western had. Keep in mind, Western Michigan was the best team in the MAC, 4-0 record, and they've got players, Sky Moore, Eskridge, they had a lot of really good players, so they were able to at least limit some of their better players, which is really impressive. And part of that all comes back to Boone, in my opinion. He came in and gave the offense the consistency it needed. It took the pressure off Hutchinson. He didn't have to run the ball every other down. He was just able to sit in the pocket and say, okay, dissect the defense and pick them apart. I think what you saw Saturday was a glimpse into what this team is going to be next year, and I think that's going to be a MAC contender. I love what I saw. I hope they can repeat it again against Southern Illinois. I want to see more of it, but it was great. Great to see.